Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the regular council meeting this evening of Monday, July 17th, 2023. Just for public information, members of the public can be present in the council chambers during the meeting. And also they can watch the meeting via Zoom. And you have to check the Zoom link on the City of Trail website. The first item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes in front of council this afternoon. First is the Governance and Operations Committee meeting for June 25th, 2023. And the second is the regular council meeting of June 26th, 2023. The recommendation before you is that the minutes of the Governance and Operations Committee meeting and the regular council meeting, both held June 26, 2023, be adopted as circulated. Councilor Hanson, Councilor Hanson, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the public question period.
Yeah.
No one wants to?
Yeah.
Mark, are you getting? Okay. So just so you know, when you get up, you have to state your name and your address, Mark. And is this a question or a comment about anything on the agenda tonight?
I don't even know what is on the agenda tonight.
Oh, okay.
This is in regards to the continuing saga that we're, the problems that we're having.
Okay, sure. Just before you start, before you state your name and address, because you're not a delegation on the agenda tonight, I just want to let everyone know that we will allow you to speak this evening, 3 minutes to speak on the subject. We aren't able to answer any questions for you tonight or address any of your current concerns, but if there is something new that you have that we don't have as council, we will refer it to staff to get back to you, okay? Okay.
Okay, well, first of all, my name is Mark Steves. I run Rosalind Computer Repair at 947 Spokane Street. I do not live in town, but we do business in town. I'm here to address the homeless issue and behaviors of clients in the CDS shelter. Currently, we have a shelter for 18 individuals. We also have an unauthorized safe injection site being run in open air in the middle of the street within our downtown trail core. Where street safety workers monitor people using drugs openly in the public. As you know, I'm vehemently against running the shelter in our small, beautiful city. Trail is too small and is lacking in resources to deal with the influx of homeless people inundating our city due to having our shelter registered in fetch.ca, a website that advertises open space and support BC-wide to other agencies dedicated to finding placement for their clients. What we can do is we can support our local people, get them the help needed through detox, mental health, and the formation of a drug-free halfway house / center dedicated towards support after treatment and creating a sustainable, healthy living space instead of enabling and financing this horrible, unsustainable lifestyle. Over 15 businesses have been broken into over the past 2 months. Hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars have been spent monthly in emergency services. People have been assaulted and are afraid to come downtown to shop. Our company has suffered 30% decrease in business alone this year. This is not sustainable. The people are angry, and rightfully so, which is why I'm requesting a referendum on whether or not people of Trail want a homeless shelter in Trail. This has become an issue of the citizens that live here. It's their property that's getting stolen out of their homes. It's their livelihoods that are being threatened. So perhaps it should be up to the people to decide if they've had enough. You all swore an oath of office when you started as councillors. Part of that oath was to keep our citizens safe and create an environment that is conducive to business or commerce. It is time we all come together and live up to that oath. Ensure our streets are safe for commerce and our community members. Recently, I was concerned regarding the conditions of the shelters facilities reported to me regarding possible health violations. I called the Board of Health, inspected the shelter, and found many issues with the bathroom facilities and cooking facilities. However, he told me this was a town council issue. I should bring my concerns to you. He went on to further say his biggest concern was a fire issue. He actually told me they have lots of fire extinguishers and a plan, but it concerned him and said it was a fire department issue. The issue cannot wait any longer. September is too long and too close to cold weather. We need to address it now so we have some time to assess our plans of action. This issue is an issue that affects us all, so the decision should be placed in the hands of those affected. I personally will step up and support any decision that comes from the needs of the people, regardless of the decision made. In the meantime, I feel we need to protect our children from witnessing open drug use by making our town inhospitable to public displays of abhorrent behaviors, like public intoxication, public defecation, public nudity, and prostitution, which is happening on our streets today. We need to create a safe zone in the downtown core that prohibits public intoxication and drug use. We need to have our police and bylaw officers enforce the BC Safe Street Act. Bottom line is we need to put consequences to undesirable behaviors. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mark. So I do have a question for you, Mark, before you, did you, say that you were calling for a referendum
Yes,
on whether we should have the homeless shelter
correct.
or not? And do you have any more?
I feel that, nobody wants to be that person, and that's what I feel dealing with this all this time. Nobody wants to be that person that closes that shelter down. Right, so perhaps, we put it to an open vote, and we'll get our answer.
Yes, it is.
Right, and either way, I'll support it. But, I just feel like this has become a situation where we're all hurting from. And, we need to have our say.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, is there any other speakers, or I'll just get you to come up to the podium, please? And I just need you to state your name and address. Okay.
My name is Lindsay Lowe, I live at 2100 Riverside. Would like to know how come an outfit out of Nelson was here surveying the property where the old Elks Hall used to be for BC Housing. And I would like to know who allowed them to come into our town to do this survey for BC Housing when nobody in our neighborhood has been consulted about this homeless shelter coming into our neighborhood. And it will not be coming into our neighborhood. We've got a nice little neighborhood down there. We all look after each other. We put up with the homeless under the old bridge 3 years ago, and it was absolute hell. And I bet you there's not one person right in front of me who has suggested the property across the street from their house. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to get up and speak or have a question for us, for public question period?
Hi everyone, my name is Pat Rochers. I live at 1195 Tamarack Avenue and kind of in the throng of everything. However, I don't know if this is the right forum here tonight to address things with respect to the homeless and the street people. What's all involved to do a special delegation, that way we can all get our resources together and do a special delegation where we can bring the information we need to you guys to make sort of suggestions and everybody can kind of see from there.
Yes.
So is that, what's involved with that?
Oh, I'm sorry, so, you would apply to the city and
Okay.
the city could help you with that.
All right,
As a delegation to come before council, and then you can share all the information and ideas that you have with us, and then council will be able to have a conversation and, share ideas with you.
fair enough. Now, when would be the next special delegation that would be available for folks like us? And you? Because we all live in Trail, we all have this issue. It's a serious issue. I don't think not one person here, council members, mayor, or the public here likes what's going on. We do need to figure out a plan with a real strategy, because you can say we don't want a homeless shelter in Trail, we don't want a homeless shelter in Nelson, we don't want them in Castlegar, but they're here, and apparently they are brought here knowingly and willingly and with the government's assistance, from what I understand. So we have to address this. So how quickly and
Well, unfortunately, there's only one meeting in August. And I don't know what that agenda looks like right now, we're a little bit, 4 weeks out from that, but September might be the earliest that you could get in for that, and for a delegation.
right, but would this not be considered an emergency request in consideration of the fact that the shelter is supposed to be closing in September, so we're kind of a little late, because there's many suggestions that I've heard of that would be something that could be a viable solution. However, I think we need to address this on an emergency basis, perhaps for August, and maybe I can get everybody to vote on that with your, however it works. Because I think it's critical.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I would still refer that to staff, because they're the ones that does our agenda and books the delegations. And if there was an urgency through staff, I'm sure that they would spend, we've had special public meetings before, so.
Okay.
I am going to leave that up to this staff to decide though.
Fair enough, and who is staff, who is that is that yourself that would decide? Well, because I like to make sure we narrow it down. I don't want to be bouncing all over the place, so who is it that I would need to touch base with?
You can touch base with me, and I'll liaise with our chief administrative officer.
Okay, will do, thank you both, and everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually wasn't prepared to speak here, but you've given me the opportunity, so I'd like to. My name is Diana Wong, and I grew up in the Kootenays. My address 201 Diana Crescent in Trail. I'm kind of in the middle because, this issue, growing up, I saw lots of homelessness, lots of drug use in larger centers when my family would travel to Vancouver, right? My parents rented hotel rooms in Chinatown, so I saw a lot. Doesn't mean that I looked down on people, I just accepted them, and that's what I think we should be doing. I think it would be wrong to turn people away. It's against our rights to be able to move around freely in Canada. That's my opinion. I just think we're in a situation in this day and age where drugs are an issue, and this is uncharted territory for Interior Health or health authorities to step in. And I'm dealing with my brother's issues right now. He's homeless, and I found a little bit of success communicating and bouncing from the different agencies. I hope that the municipal governments will communicate with provincial and federal resources, agencies, so that we can help these people, not enable them, but there are supports. And at the end of the day, people just need to stand up for each other, you know, like I'm literally babysitting my brother, you know, and we are making progress, but people have to help each other, and I mean, being like visiting with him, making sure he's okay on a daily basis. I've met a lot of good people. They don't want to be in this situation, and I just feel like we have to communicate, and the more support, the better. You know, we hear it all the time right now, kindness, treating each other with kindness. I think that would go a long ways. But please, at the municipal level, do whatever we can to communicate with IHA, BC government, to voice that being in a small city, every little thing impacts us a little bit greater than if you were in a city like Vancouver with millions of others, right? But I can tell you that if I were to see and witness myself anything like abusive or, you know, violent, I would still stand up for them in Vancouver. Like, we just have to be good people, right? And in a small town, we have a lot of good people. So I just wanted to not go against Mark, but voice that I don't want to turn people away, but we maybe need a better shelter, that's all. And more resources from the government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rich Steer. I live in Fifth Avenue, East Trail. I never kind of thought this problem was as bad as it was here, and just word from other people. But it's not a problem, it's a crisis. I'm going through Jubilee Park every day for the last 6 weeks on my way to work or downtown here. And I'm openly seeing tents set up like a campground under the trees, people in blankets, guys sleeping on the sidewalk, you know, on his back, blocking the sidewalks, stuff scattered everywhere. They're openly doing their drugs all day. I go in the morning, they're doing drugs. They're sleeping. I go through the afternoon, they're doing drugs on a blanket. They're cutting their drugs on a plane card. This is more than a problem. Businesses are being broken into constantly. There were break-ins just over the weekend. Steps Dance Center was broken into on Thursday. Personal belongings broken. The Skills Center construction site was broken into the weekend. Got into the window, tore locks off security fencing and guarding. They're getting into the fencing, they're doing their business right on the sidewalk, inside the zone. Like you could build a wall, they're still gonna get in order to find stuff, to steal, sell, camp, sleep, whatever. I beg any one of you guys, go down that park at 6 in the morning, go through there at 2:30 in the afternoon. Like, it's beyond a problem. I don't know what else to say. It's getting bad, and ever since this legalization of this 2.5 grams of hard drugs, it's only made it worse. And I think it's time that the municipalities start stepping up to the problems and saying, we're not gonna take it anymore. Get these people out of here, because it's a real problem.
Hi, my name is Jill Lowe. I live on 2100 Riverside Avenue. I have a question. I don't know if you guys can answer it for me. If a person wanted to somehow voice their opinions besides you, like say BC Housing, who would they voice their opinions to? Because, and how would you make sure that they hear what your opinions are of this? Because I know you guys in Trail, as a I don't know, mayor and stuff, councilors, there's only so much you can do. And I mean, there's a lot of people there's only so many of us here tonight. And it's obvious that we're all kind of here for the same thing. And there's how many people live in Trail. And it's sad that there isn't more here because It's a trail problem, just not downtown, as you can hear, it's Olive Trail. And I was wishing and hoping that there'd be more people here to speak up. And to be able to find more places for these people to go into, because that shelter down in the alley, it's not working. They need, and the problem is they say the homeless, it's just not homeless. It's drug abuse, it's mental, and alcohol. There's how many different, but they're lumping them in to one category, the homeless. They need, I'm sorry to say, I don't know how to say the right words, politically, say the right words, but they need to open up another mental, say hospitals, facilities for the mental. They need more rehab for the drugs and alcohol. And these people that are robbing and that, and I know the police have their hands tied because there's nothing they can do about them, because again, they're allowed to do so much drugs. They know the law is backwards and frontwards. They know what to do. They only do these petty little thefts because they know they're just gonna get their hands slapped. Where we live on Riverside, I'm constantly watching all day. We're worried about what's going on. And then to top it off, CDS rented a house above us for one of these ones. And it was never ending, and supposedly, we never got the right answer from anybody. She was the one that was living in the house that set all the tents on fire underneath the old bridge just a year prior. You wouldn't believe the amount of stuff that we see down there on a daily basis. But then you guys probably see it all around town as well. So who do we talk to? Where do we go besides you guys to voice our opinions and say enough is enough? Because it's in every town. It's everywhere, like, I mean, that's why I was hoping more people from Trail would show up to some of these meetings or stand up the road and say enough is enough. Like, I want to be heard as a town of Trail. I really want the rest of these little towns to hear us. And maybe, I don't know, it's just frustration too, which doesn't help.
I understand, yeah. And if I could, just take a minute,
Sorry.
no, that's all. I want the city of Trail, I want you guys to know that council is working towards, Sheriff, go sit down. Council is working towards the issues that you guys are talking about tonight. We see what you see. We feel what you guys feel. We walk down the streets, we hear what you hear. It affects all of us. It's not something we want in our community either. It's not, but it's here. And as Diane said, we have to be passionate about it. We have to show kindness. But I want you to know what we're doing. Council is very engaged in this issue. We're working hard at every level that we can to make sure that people are listening to what is happening in our community. Every chance we get, we're talking to the MLA, or we're talking to the province, or we're talking to the provincial government in every ministry. We've had every ministry in our community in the last 2 months that we can absolutely even I don't know who else we can get here to see. They've walked the streets with us. They've gone down the alley. They've gone over to the stairs. They've gone where you guys are talking about. I've showed them, we've showed them everything that we can do to show them what's happening in our community. Because we don't want this. And you know what? We're educating ourselves on the subject. We're engaged with the people on the streets. We're engaged at every level that we can be. You know, we speak to the RCMP constantly about issues that are going on. What can we do to help this? Tell us what to do. If you guys have got some ideas for us, bring it forward, because we've tried everything that we can try right now. We just struck up the Community Safety Task Force again. We're hoping that there's business people there, there's community people, there's people from IHA that are there, there's people from, Interior Health. From the shelter, from every avenue that is being affected with this. We have people sitting on that committee right now. And we're really hoping that we can come up with ideas to help resolve this issue. But you know what, we can't do it by ourselves. We need you guys working together with us, and we understand your frustration. We're not ignoring it. We are working hard to bring this issue to the provincial level, because those are the people that we need to, we don't have the money or the funding to do what we need to do. We honestly don't, and you need to know that, if there's ever an opportunity for us to do anything to bring our issue to the forefront, we're there, we're trying to do it. I don't want you to think that we're not recognizing your voice, because your voice is important. It really, really is. I see it, I see your comments on Facebook, I see them, I hear them, you know, I see it in the media, we see it in the media, but we're not ignoring it. We're working really, really hard with BC Housing. Every avenue that we can, we're trying to do something for this community. We're not ignoring it. So please don't think we are, because we're very engaged and passionate about it. We really are. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Council appreciates it. But you need to know that I can't say it enough, we're doing all we can. We don't have funding for extra police officers. We don't have funding for extra mental health support. We don't have funding for so many things. And yet we have to constantly be working with the little bit that we have unless the province steps in. So, you know, we're hoping to have some news about where shelter's going in the next little while. I can't make promises, we can't. But you need to know we're working hard. And that's all I can ask you guys. Just give us some time. I know you've been really, really patient. I don't know what else to tell you, but I'm gonna ask for the next person that wants to come up to the podium and share their comments and questions.
Dale Betzler, Roslyn Avenue, 98. I wasn't expecting to talk tonight, but Mayor Jones, thanks for just being candid with us, but I hate to say it, but I don't think the ministry's listening to you.
Sorry?
I don't think the ministry is listening to you. I don't think that the solution that you're providing them or wanting to yet is what they want to hear. And I think until you force their hand, which means no to what they're proposing to put into our small towns across the province. And I've mentioned it enough times for people to just look at some documentaries to see what's been going on. There's been thousands of dollars spent on this problem as to laying it all out. For those that haven't watched it, watch Canada's Dying. It started out as Vancouver's Dying, now it's Canada's Dying. It lays it all out. So I'm sorry you're not making much headway. It's a tough position to be in. But until people just say no, and it comes from the council level to just say this is not working, and it's not going to work, and it won't work until these people get proper health and mental health. I mean, it's documented. You know, when the BC Housing comes up with their great ideas, why don't you guys ask them for the data? Like, ask them for the studies that actually supposedly done, and get the data and find out who wrote the data, and vet it. Because I can probably tell you, you're not going to find any vetted data that's coming from them. They're just telling you stories. So I would suggest maybe force their hand and stand up for the people in trouble.
I'm Mrs. Fox Trooper. I was one that was attacked, but the only way you're gonna solve this problem is you mayors from every community get together, get after the government to open up that facility where they had closed down and put these people back in there. And that's the only way you're gonna do it, is stick together, all of you mayors, go together and go after the government for that. BC Housing was gonna help anything. They destroyed the house.
Anybody else for question period?
Like Dale, I didn't expect to speak either, but hearing the comments, Gord Fisher, Trail 211 Ritchie Avenue. So I've been in the middle of this fight for over 4 years now, and over 4 years ago I said the situation is getting worse by the week, and it's slowed down. That acceleration has slowed down. It's still getting worse. So, but now we're 4 years down. I don't think I'll see it righted in my lifetime. And I said 4.5 years ago, to the council today, it's gonna take tough decisions. And we can't solve this problem in Trail, or Williams Lake, or Cranbrook, or Quesnel. It's, you heard the suggestions, Riverview, I keep hearing it all the time. Incarceration is one of the tough decisions. The compassion, we've hit compassion fatigue about 3 years ago. And it's just tough decisions. So we have the UBCM coming up. Let's hope it's gonna be on the table. A chance for you people to collaborate with other people with the same problem. And just one final note, last week, maybe some of you saw it. I was fortunate enough to visit San Francisco for the first time 10 years ago. And it was like a disaster zone. We didn't have homeless in Trail, they had it in Vancouver. And so it's gotten worse, you can read about it. So last week in the news, in the last 4 years in San Francisco, they spent $17 billion. And the situation's gotten worse. Now in Trail, we can't, or in BC, we can't get any of that data, how much we're spending. But the sirens going off 2 weeks ago, it was worse than New York City. It was really horrific. And the homeless, a euphemism for all kinds of other stuff. Like, oh, they have to be downtown. Why would a homeless person have to be downtown? No, there's other issues why they have to be downtown. So just more background stuff. And so keep in mind the money thing. 17 billion, I saw that for San Francisco, and we just paid our taxes, and so I see all this enabling for the disadvantaged of our society. I get it, but what about the people that myself and lieutenants, you're fighting the fight every day financially, and they're fighting a different fight, and I don't envy them, and thank God I'm not afflicted with it. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the audience if anyone has something new to bring forward. If not, then I think we're going to close this part of the public question period. No? Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to item number 3, communications. So, Broadridge Avenue Esplanade Development, and I will hand that over to CEO.
Thanks, Mayor Jones. We're excited. We knew when we did the budget that there was a potential for this missing link project, which again, of course, has sort of the finishing touches on the above ground, but what's even more involved is the underground components of sewer and water upgrades. I can see it's a very big project, and our great CBT came to the table and helped us out with some funding as well. And the fact that we've got a local company here bidding on this, and we bring that forward to council to hopefully get your busing and to move forward and get this project underway. That's all.
Okay, so any questions or comments before we call for the motion? Or CEO, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I'm just curious if we have any data on why we had one bid, which I understand is an okay bid, but I'm just wondering if there, why we're only getting one bid on a contract of that size.
Well, again, it's busy out there. There's a lot of companies that are already tied up with projects. We know that some of them, there's some big projects that are being worked on in the Fruit Bell right now as well. The one thing that we did note was one of the previous companies that had engaged with us prior, because this is the second time that this has been brought forward. The last time was right around COVID, and it got shut down. That company was quite interested, but they don't have the strength of their senior management. They've had some changes, people retired, and they did not have a crew that they felt comfortable could be sent here to do this work, so they did not bid. People are pretty tied up. There's a lot of construction going on in our regional area.
Thank you.
Okay, so the recommendation is before you, that council approve the award of the Broadridge Avenue Esplanade Development Contract to Marvest Industries Limited in the amount of $2,135,000 $738 plus all applicable taxes, fees, and charges. May I have someone make that motion, please? Councilor Martin, Councilor Butler, all those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. So, item 3.2 is the Trail and District Art Council request for rental waiver. Ms. Martina, will you take that? Sure, okay.
Yes, the Arts Council, as you know, runs the Music in the Park events on Thursdays and Sundays. They are holding two special events this summer where there will be a night market. And they have asked for a rental waiver of the costs associated with the park rental as well as the delivery of some chairs and tables that they use for the event. So before you is a request to waive 50% of the cost for those two events, and that amount is $728.
Councilor Benson, are you making that motion? Yes. Okay. Councilor Hanson seconded, okay, thank you. Is all those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. And the next item on the agenda is proclamation request of National Drowning Prevention Week. The recommendation is that council proclaim the week of July 16th to the 22nd, 2023 as National Drowning Prevention Week in the city of Trail. Does anyone want to, Councilor Butler and Councilor Wilson, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the council committee reports, please, if I can have Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Your Worship. On Monday, July 10th, I attended the Community Action Team meeting along with Councilors Martin and Butler, where we received a dire update on the toxic drug supply and the consequential overdoses that happened in Trail over the past few weeks, as sirens everyone's been commenting about. It was shocking, and even more shocking that no lives were lost as some of our neighboring communities have. So on July 13th, I attended a webinar hosted by the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General. As everyone knows, it was commented by police officers here tonight. There is a pilot project ongoing until 2026 where BC citizens may possess up to a combined 2.5 grams of controlled substances. Just a few things I learned during that is that there is no, when they decriminalize this, there's no federal or provincial law that restricts where a person can use a controlled substances. So they're engaging with local governments right now for feedback. Fellow councillors Hanson, Wilson, Cashel, and I attended this one, and there's another one on Wednesday. I can get you guys the information if you're interested. Or they're accepting written feedback until July 31st. And it's a lot of questions that I think our voice would be very well heard on. They had 4 questions posed. They were, where should public drug use be restricted? Are there places where it should not be? Should there be differentiation based on mode of use? And what should enforcement look like? And is there anything else you think the BC government should consider with respect to possible legislation on the public use of controlled substances? So my fellow councillors in the meeting with me can probably comment a bit more on anything that I missed, but I do encourage the rest of council to attend. It's on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. On Monday, July 10th, Councillor Hanson and I received news from the Canadian Mental Health Association that 3 communities were chosen for peer assisted care teams in Trail. They were Prince George, Kamloops, and Comox Valley. Councillor Hanson and I shared this on our Facebook pages for people to nominate Trail, so I just want to thank everyone that did nominate Trail and advocate for the community. Afterwards, we talked, and we're both disappointed, but we also discussed how satisfied and impressed we were by the timely communication that we received to follow up. And it's amazing how something as simple as an update can do, and it made me feel heard, and it closes loop, and I know Councillor Hanson felt the same. And what I'm hearing tonight is just I feel that there could be, more communication, so I'm gonna put a motion forward, and I hope council will consider that we direct staff, to develop a communication program specifically to the downtown core issues, reaching our constituents in ways that they want. We have a really extremely capable communication staff, and Andrew Jolly at the City of Trail, who could help us. I don't know what it looks like, I would leave that to her, I'm not a communications expert, but I would like to see that happening, because I know there's a lot that we can't share under the community charter, but there's a lot that we can. And I listen to the work that everyone's doing around the table here, and I think that it could be shared better with our constituents. So I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to develop a communication program dedicated specifically to the downtown core issues.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Councillor Cashel, are you seconding that motion?
Yes, I am there.
Okay. So any questions or comments before we go to the vote? No? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? None opposed, carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Benson. Is that the end of your request?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Button.
Just two things, Your Worship, on the 10th, under the community action team monthly meeting, and on the 13th, the downtown improvement committee meeting along with Councillor Hanson. That's it in my report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cashel.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. On July 6th, I attended a community meeting with Communities in Bloom. A couple of points that they wanted me to raise publicly to thank the downtown businesses for taking care of 37 planters, which Martin Hadfield, a volunteer with Communities in Bloom, and other volunteers soiled and planted the flowers. And the business owners are watering and taking care of these 37 planters. So we want to just pay a tribute to those businesses and say thank you. This week, the City of Trail will be judged to try and keep its Spy Bloom status, which has been a challenge. But because of volunteer efforts, which was demonstrated on July the 9th, we had over 20 volunteers show up at the hospital. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm thinking hospital. Out at the airport and plant over 2,100 geraniums in the flower bed out there to get it ready, because this is the first time the judges will actually be flying into the Trail Regional Airport. So we just want to make, reference to that and just say thank you to all the donors and businesses and the volunteers to make that happen. I'll just touch a little bit on what Councillor Benson mentioned with the BC Ministry of Public Safety and the Solicitor General. That conference, video conference, is happening because the municipalities are upset about what's happening in their downtown cores with open public drug use. And our situation, as you know, is common across the province and probably across Canada. The takeaway I took from that was a question posed by a city councillor, whose name I don't have on file, asked about whether or not they should continue discussions and formatting motions to put forward municipal bylaws to deal with open drug use in public places. And the provincial minister representative told the municipal candidates that were there to just wait, to hold back on those discussions, on those motions, because the province has promised that they're going to bring legislation to deal with open drug use. That was the takeaway for me on that. So I want you to know that is something that municipal governments across the province are lobbying for, and we were in that lobby group as well. That is my report, Mayor Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Councillor Hanson.
Thank you. I as well, everybody's kind of heard a few of the things that we've done, but I really just want to reiterate that we are being heard. If the government wasn't hearing us, they wouldn't have asked for our feedback. So we are getting heard. We also, the minutes we approved earlier was a meeting, a GOC meeting where we had Interior Health. We had the Executive Director for Interior Health here sharing and talking to us about what they're doing for mental health and substance abuse issues. And we were able to share with them the issues that we're dealing with in our community. And there are resources. We have, I believe, one or two new individuals. They're looking at an adolescent program for younger kids that are getting into issues and helping them. So they heard us because they had a meeting with the executive director 2 weeks ago. The controlled substance use meeting, I mean, they wanna have implementation by December. When does the government move in 6 months that fast? Right? They are hearing us, they are moving forward. I also attended the Downtown Improvement Committee meeting there with Councillor Butler. And it was actually quite exciting. There's REDIP grant funding opportunities from the Ministry of Jobs, Tourism and Innovation. And the Downtown Improvement Committee wants to work with the city on ways to potentially apply for any grant funding for possibly updating our downtown plan or any other feasibility studies that we could use in our downtown core. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Yes, today we at lunchtime we fired up the Community Safety Task Force. There's myself, Councillor Benson, Mayor Jones, and CEO McClure from the city. Representatives from the RCMP, Trail Community Action Team, Career Development Service, Trail Association for Community Living, representatives from the local business Spur Foods, Foodie Kebab, and Community Futures. And we had a rep from the Trail Library. Regrets came from Interior Health, the KBRFR Fire Chief Dan Derby, and the Chamber of Commerce. We discussed the mandate and the functions of the committee, and we're going to meet. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, August 21st. We didn't come up with any real solves for the issues that are ongoing in the downtown core throughout the city trail, but everybody's made they're serious about coming back and trying to work together and just make things better for the city of Trail, because we're trying, we really are trying. That's it from our report.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. On July 13th, I also attended the same webinar that most of us attended on the open drug use. And I think the biggest takeaway from that is that these local municipalities have made their voice heard. And it appears that the decriminalization, which has rolled out, has also created problems that the government didn't foresee. So it's just nice to know that those conversations are happening, and it does sound very promising that they are going to take action to re-correct what has happened since the decriminalization. So there's that was one of the first meetings I left and I actually felt good. Because a lot of them have been pretty doom and gloom and just not much hope, but that one finally felt like, okay, the light's been switched on for them. So that was great, and also just want to thank you folks for coming down, because appreciate the input and the feedback from you guys. So thank you, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. On to my report. I've spoke earlier, so I did shorten my report a bit here, but I wanted to, I mentioned that we did start up the Community Safety Task Force, but I wanted to also mention that on Friday afternoon at 2:30, the Minister of Finance, our MLA, Katrine Conroy, and the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction, Jennifer Whiteside, with her assistants, came into town, and I was invited to meet with them. They did a tour of the shelter, inside and outside on the street, different parts of the community. And then we met in the committee room for a discussion before she flew out. But I want you to know that I talked to them once again about the decriminalization of drugs, and it wasn't just drugs, it was the toxic drugs that they're decriminalizing. I spoke to them about the increase of housing that we need. Like, our community is suffering because we don't have the proper housing for people. We need extra support for our mental health and addiction. We don't have enough spaces in our detox facility in Castlegar. We have no ability to rehab people here. In order for them to get rehabilitation, they have to leave the community that they just detoxed in and probably grew up in and lived in, and takes them away from the family. They have to leave their region to get rehabilitation, and then they come back. to their community, because we've seen them come back, and I think that's a downfall. I would like to see that all done regionally. I would like it to be done in this area so they don't have to leave home, they don't have to leave their families. I don't know, it's a discussion that the ministry is having at this time about making a regional center, wraparound center for these kind of situations, illnesses, and so once again, we had a really, really good discussion about it. They see it, they understand it. They were in Nelson, they were in Castlegar, so they know that it's a huge regional issue. And you know what, it's interesting because she said, we'll see you at UBCM. So she's expecting a meeting from us down there, and I said, yes, we will be there. So once again, I too want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and we are listening, we're hearing and seeing what you are seeing. And that's my report. So any questions or comments? Okay. Oh, sorry, I can't take it from the audience. It's for council. So on to the consent agenda. Under item number 5, the Lower Columbia Initiative Corporation, June 2023 quarterly report. The recommendation is that this item on the consent agenda be received for information purposes only. Okay. Councilor Martin and Councilor Wilson, all those in favor? Okay, carried unanimously.
We'll do it. LCIC coming in just because.
Will the LCIC?
They're scheduled for September 20th.
Perfect, thank you.
Would you like this? Okay, is there any business from council moving forward? No, thank you. Under item number 7 is the department reports. We have the bylaw enforcement department report of June 2023. And the recommendation is to receive this report for information purposes. Councilor Benson, Councilor Wilson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. And the next item on the agenda is adjournment. And so we'll make that motion, Councilor Hanson, second Councilor Wilson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you.